Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon. There she is. 1 second. Invite co-host Angie. Send invite. I'm hoping this is working because I've had a lot of issues with spaces.
Dude.
Can you hear me, dude?
I can. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you very much. I'm
Fantastic.
a bit nervous. I'm a little bit nervous, to be honest with you, because spaces has been the bane of my life recently.
I feel that.
So whilst people can hear me, I'm going to quickly read out the legals. So as usual, nothing discussed on this space session constitutes trading or investment advice or infers any kind of endorsement by PIQ Global Limited, Traders PIQ or PIQ Suite, or indeed the hosts, which actually, as you know by now, is the amazing Angie Setzer and myself, the slightly less awesome Ryan Basie. And then for those of you that aren't aware, these should be by now, this is a rapid fire roundup of the latest pricing, flows, and market moving news in agricultural markets. Did I say that right?
You sure did. But actually, as you were saying it, I kind of chuckled a little bit because I'm like, how exciting has since we started last Monday, and I'm pretty sure the market has moved like 15 cents. Like beans have done it like 3 or 4 times though, at least like this 20-cent move or whatever. But yeah.
Market.
Yeah, I'm like what could move the market? If anything could move it, that would be great. But so this morning, it really just kind of I usually come in with 3 bullet points, right? But I think today is like China is 3 bullet points wearing a trench coat, because we have like so many different things that are going on, and so much that I think we're still trying to kind of figure out, right? The one thing that I'm paying attention to, or what I'm watching the most right now, is that we are seeing Brazilian beans, like the basis for Brazilian beans, what Chinese buyers are willing to pay for Brazilian beans, has fallen like a hot rock. Everyone's anticipating this monster Brazilian crop. We're looking at a record production level, and everyone wants to talk about it, and it's there, and it'll have to move into the pipeline for sure. But we're seeing some really interesting sort of dynamics with the exporters in Brazil looking at locking in losses currently if they want to try to sell into this export market. Now, China's bought an extra couple 100 million bushels of beans for new crop from Brazil already versus a year ago. So they probably have hedged their bets on any type of production loss. They now know that production is getting bigger. And so as an end user, if you're someone who knows that the crop's getting bigger and that you're going to have quote unquote harvest pressure, which we thought we would see in the US, but never really did, right? But if you think you're going to see this harvest pressure, basically what we've seen is China back away from the Brazilian market. But interestingly enough, in my opinion, we've seen them really come into the US market here as of late. Like we saw another export flash sale here at 9 a.m. this morning of China coming in and buying some beans.
On that, who was nice enough to send you a headline that would be
yes.
What, 3 a.m. 3 in the morning?
Yeah, right when I woke up, I'm like, woohoo, China news. And that's the other thing that we're seeing is that the Chinese government, right? So like the last time we saw prices get down to multi-year lows, which if you look at corn right now and you look at it from a cash price standpoint and all of that, we're at, what has been a historically great level to buy. It's part of the reason why we've seen export sales as far ahead as what they have been. Now in China, one of the things that's interesting, and like I said, China's 3 bullet points wearing a trench coat today. But the article you did send me said that Sinograin is working to expand their storage capacity and their corn purchasing across much of China currently as well. COFCO made a similar announcement a week ago. One of the things that I'm seeing, I subscribe to Setonia Consulting, Darren Friedrich's Crush Spread. Super great, fantastic insight into what's going on in Chinese agriculture. And he's talked about a few different times where farmers are pushing more grain into the pipeline currently because their crop came off much, much wetter than normal. And remember, China doesn't have the dryers and the bin space and all this other stuff. They pile ear corn a lot of times, out back behind the house. And so you've seen this big flow of grain into the pipeline. And what's happening is the government's buying it. Now, the government's buying it to support price for one, but for two, they're buying it and putting it away because they know it's cheap. So that's going to be something that'll be really interesting to watch. And the question now becomes, with us seeing unknown export sales of corn to unknown. That's someone that's just not named until later, a player to be named later or whatever. That's up 5-6 million metric tons, a huge amount versus a year ago, and accounts for a large amount of our gains in corn export sales. So that's going to be something we have to watch. Is that China? I said to you this morning, I believe that China is going to have to come in and start making purchases, even if it's half of what the USDA is currently projecting into the cash market. Currently, there aren't a lot of supplies available. So I believe they come to the US. I think they already have. I would venture that half of the purchases by unknown are China at this point. I'll arm wrestle anyone who wants to disagree. It's totally fine. But we have to watch. We still haven't seen who it's been switched over. And, so next week they have their economic council meeting. Are we going to see some continued stimulus? So there's several different things. Point number one in this 3 bullet points about China. What does China demand going forward? And do we see them work to kind of reinstate phase one? All of the trade representatives and these folks that are coming in with Trump now were part of the negotiations of phase one, the first go around. Now, Lighthizer is out, and he was thought to be the biggest China hawk. So there's a lot of thought that the Wall Street influence will kind of make it more in the way of negotiation. And so is it possible that what everyone's anticipating to have happen with China trade relations is maybe not right? Sure, I guess. Stay tuned. We'll see in 6 or 8 months. But
just on that, just on the Lighthizer, I did see some sources comments, so pinch of salt required, that Lighthizer was not considered this time because he wasn't hawkish enough.
Oh, that's fine. You don't want to be mean enough.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is what we said before, right? There's still plenty of unknowns.
Yes.
And especially like you brought up yesterday, with the biofuels and stuff, that's still a massive unknown.
Yes.
There's a lot up in the air. So us last week saying, do you know what? We'll probably have a nice quiet December. It's gone right out the window.
Yeah, 100%. And we knew it would. And so speaking of the biofuel thing, and then we can call it a day, but that is going to be something to watch because I've read it in more than one place where, because of the uncertainty surrounding the biofuel tax credits and the thought that we aren't going to be needing as much in the way of feedstocks after the 1st of January because of the loss in margin and some of these other things, a lot of folks are saying, oh yeah, well, that's why we're dumping into the export market. Right. And I'm like, okay, so you're betting currently that we don't see the government, kind of, and I get it. I would not be surprised if they disappointed us. I mean, it's par for the course. But I also think right now, I think no one's anticipating an extension to a certain extent, and there could be a really interesting vacuum in the physical market if we were to see one. So I don't know. That's my favorite part about cash right now, and that's going to be the thing that I want to leave with today. Is a lot of things that we see going on in the grain market right now will be reflected based on what the USDA is saying. It's important to remember that the USDA forecasts ahead of the marketing year, but once they're in the marketing year, they backfill. They take what's actually going on in the cash market and then follow that with adjustments later on. And so it's way more important right now to be paying attention to actual movement of grain, how easy it is or how hard it is, whether or not the end users can get covered, far more than what a balance sheet says. And so that's what we'll be paying attention to. December should be fun.
Perfect. Well, on that note, and we are getting far better at being nice and fire on this. Still a work in progress, but we're doing quite well. Angie, as always, thank you so much for that very rapid fire roundup. Listeners, thank you as always for tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care.
Have a good one.
See ya. Bye-bye.